the Everyday is a New Day podcast and live show. The inspirational show about moving forward and choosing to be more of you. Transmuting the self-doubt and stepping into courageously aligned confidence in who you uniquely are. My name is Kim O'Neill. I'm a twice certified transformational confidence coach, Reiki master, best-selling author, and former crime analyst who now helps empathic, heart-centered individuals shatter the noise of self-doubt, find clarity on what self-love really looks like, and the courage to be peacefully grounded in who you've always known you are, from the inside out. Join me for the live shows on Facebook and YouTube, and visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Let's get to it. All right. Welcome to another episode of the Everyday is a New Day show. I'm your host, Kim O'Neill, and I'm really excited for today's guest. Really quickly, I want to make sure to say hello to all of our live and replay viewers, whether you're with us on Facebook or on YouTube. Love having you here. As always, let us know in the comments what comes up for you throughout the conversation, what your takeaways are at the very end. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, do definitely share it with your connections, your friends, and people as well. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up today's guest. We have with us today Christine Kloser. Welcome, Christine.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here today.
I'm super excited to have you here today. One of my friends recently commented that she had recently attended one of your workshops or your courses, and she said she loved it. And a lot of people I noticed were really excited to see you on today. So I am excited to have you here. I want to take a quick...
My pleasure.
Yes. I want to take a quick look. We do have Helene, who is already with us, saying hello. Good to see you, Helene. And Christine, I want to go ahead and share with everyone just a little bit about who you are and what you do. And then I'd love for you to, of course, elaborate and share more with everyone. And so for all those who are just getting to meet Christine for the very first time, she is a transformational author coach, as well as an award-winning publisher. She helps aspiring, successful professionals and upcoming leaders fulfill their calling through the life-changing process of writing and publishing transformational books. And I love that. Christine, when I first read that you were a transformational author coach, at first I was like, oh, she means she's a transformational author, coach. And I was like, no.
No is right.
She's an author coach. I love that. Tell us more about that and how you decided to start providing that service to people.
Well, it's interesting. I really never consciously intended to become a book coach and a publisher and do all the things that I do now. But I was a newlywed back in 2001, and my husband had this idea to write a book, and he was going to interview all these Major League Baseball players, and he was going to turn it into a book, not on the game and whatever the technique of the game. It was all about the mindset of how do you succeed in a game of failure? And I was like, great, honey, you go do that. And if if you do that, I'll figure out how to publish it. And he didn't know a single Major League Baseball player or anyone who knew a single Major League Baseball player. So the likelihood of him interviewing hundreds of Major League Baseball players was pretty low. So I was like, I'm not going to have to figure out that publishing thing. Well, he interviewed over 300 Major League ball players from all 30 Major League teams, including some of the biggest names in the game, like Alex Rodriguez and Randy Johnson and David Ortiz and, incredible. So I'm like, I better figure this out. So this was back in 2002. He started his interviews, and in 2004, he was ready to publish this book. So I had to figure it out. And in the meantime, I was running a networking group that I had founded in Los Angeles called the Network for Empowering Women Entrepreneurs. And a bunch of us in that organization were we all talked about I want to write a book next year. I want to become an author next year. We would do these intention setting rituals every December. And it was all about books, but nobody was actually doing it. So I'm like, hey, ladies, friends, sisters in this entrepreneurial thing, world. I don't know how to publish a book. So anyone want to pitch in some money and, write a story, and I'll publish a book. And then we can all check it off our bucket list. And my book, Inspiration to Realization, it was a collection of 40 stories from 40 amazing women, came out 2 weeks after my husband's book came out. And it, like, I really thought, okay, check it off the bucket list, until it was written up in Entrepreneur Magazine that summer as one of the best books for women entrepreneurs to read. I had a really good publicist. So it was awesome. But then all these other women started coming to me being like, hey, Christine, when's the next one? I'm like, next one? Excuse me? And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then now that you helped me write a chapter, will you help me write my own book? And I developed my Get Your Book Done course back in 2007, because people felt so safe and seen and encouraged that they could write a chapter. They wanted to write their own books. So that's kind of how I got into it. And that's a whole different story, how my transformational work and my work in authorship kind of came together, which I can share if you'd like. Or
I am, yes, please
Okay.
share. And I just first want to say that is awesome. I love how you weren't expecting anything out of it other than, oh, I committed to this. I said I was going to do this. So you did it. And it really, what I'm hearing is you were really present and you were just in the moment and going with it and doing it. And it sounds like, even though it may have been a little like, uh-oh, now I have to learn this, it also sounds like you allowed it to be fun. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it did. And I also did something that I suggest a lot of people do in business, is like, before you build the whole thing, sell it. Sell it first. And then if you sell it, you've got something, and then you can build it. So the first time I ever facilitated my Get Your Book Done program, it was a $10,500 program, and I got 6 people enrolled in it before I even had the whole curriculum developed. I had the website, I had the name. I already was registering the trademark, because getyourbookdone.com and Get Your Book Done is a pretty sweet name to get. So all that was going on, but I'm like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. And I'm the sort of person that I can't do something or teach someone something if I don't do it myself.
Yes.
So I was developing the curriculum. I was going through the process myself. I was literally printing out the curriculum I just created, and then getting on, back then, a bridge line. Wasn't Zoom, but I was getting on a bridge line, to teach that exact lesson that I just created and did for myself to my students. So it was an interesting process, but I wrote a book because I had to write a book in order to be able to teach people how to write a book. And it's an amazing book. I mean, Neil Donald Walsh wrote the foreword. It sold thousands of copies.
Oh.
Someone just messaged me earlier today saying, oh my gosh, I'm reading your book, The Freedom Formula. It's so amazing. And it is an amazing book, but it wasn't the right book for me at that time. Wow. It was kind of a book that I thought I should do, that is the book that I thought would make money, was the book that, would kind of fit in with the people I were hanging out with, who were all business coaches and marketers. And it's like, okay, so I did that book, and I built a business on that book that was not the right business for me at that time. And there were some beautiful things that happened, but really, I realized I can't keep doing this. This isn't why I'm on this earth right now. And I pulled the plug on all of it, knowing full well that it could land my family in bankruptcy court and foreclosure on our home. But I knew that if I kept going down that path, worse things were going to happen. Even though at the time I really couldn't imagine much worse than bankruptcy and foreclosure, but that is what happened. And at the lowest of the low of the low, my former business partner decided that the business that I gave her half of, she wanted. When through the whole thing, I was like, I just have this little teeny business on the side, helping people publish books. As long as I have that, I can go through all of this. Right. And then FedEx knocks on the door, with a letter from her attorney that she wants the little shred of business we have left. That was my only hope of stability. And just, you really think you're on the rock bottom.
Yes.
And then you discover there's a whole lot lower you can go. That was me. And in that time, I'm like, what, it was so painful, but it was also so rich, because I was losing everything I thought I was, because of everything I had accomplished. It was gone. So I found myself literally hours a day begging for clarity. Now, I've been facilitating transformational events for women since 1997. I had been working with authors, you know, if you include my husband, I started with him in 2002 when he started, you know, the process of interviewing all those major league players. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, use me, show me how this is supposed to make sense, not only for me, but for others. And like, it just came crystal clear. I'm supposed to do this event that I had wanted to do the year before called the Transformational Author Experience, that every one of my like highest level colleagues, except for one, said was the worst idea they ever heard. So here I am, losing everything, have lost everything.
Yeah.
And the only thing coming for me was do that thing that everyone said was going to fail. I'm like, really? Come on. But deep inside, I knew that that was the thing for me to do. And that was the first moment where I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out what it means to be a transformational author, because I love helping people write books. And I love the transformation that writing a book makes possible. So that this was back in 2011, exactly 10 years ago right now, I was teaching my first ever transformational author experience training. But that's when I merged these two worlds together and really defined what it means to be a transformational author. And in the last 10 years, I've trained like probably over 90,000 people right now on
Wow.
you know, transformational authorship. So yeah, it's been a heck of a ride, but you know, it was quite a journey getting here.
That was a very inspiring story, Christine. I love that. I want to ask you some questions, but we have a lot of people who've joined us since we began. I want to just give a quick shout out to Ibrahim, who is also with us all the way from Egypt. Good to see you, Ibrahim. And we have Kara, who is also with us right now. And so good to have you all here. And there are a lot of aspiring authors in my audience. Helene here is saying, I have done 2 books and she's proud of herself and working on her 3rd one. And yes, you are a rock star, Helene. Good for you. And so, Christine, you said something that I think that is really important. You said that, you know, you were looking for clarity and the only thing that was coming to you was this one thing that everyone else was saying, no, don't do it. So how did you know that, yes, that was the thing that you were to do?
I just knew. Like, I'm a pretty intuitive, connected kind of person. And every cell of my being knew. Because when I had the idea hit me the year earlier to do this, now granted, had I done it the year earlier, when my business partner ended up with that business, like she would have ended up with the transformational author experience. So I get that every one of those people who said no, and the part of me is like, they know better than I do. Like, they saved me. They saved this for me to do on my own, not inside of a business that would have gone to my partner, former business partner. So it was a knowing, and it was one of those, you know, lightning bolt moments where all of a sudden I could see the whole thing. You know, like it delivered in an instant, and then it was just a matter of going through the actions on the physical plane to bring the vision that was already crystal clear into reality. And that's exactly what I did. Now, if you've ever run a summit type event, which is what the Transformational Author Experience was, or anyone knows anyone who has run one, like, there's more that goes into running a summit than anyone could imagine on the back end if you haven't done it.
I bet.
And it within 90 days, like really, it was like the beginning of March that I was like, yes, I'm doing this. We opened doors for registration the beginning of May. I was waiting for my bankruptcy discharge papers to come in the mail. You know, we were counting down the days that we were in our home, and we had no money to move anywhere. So we were kind of on the verge of homelessness. And I'm opening doors for this training. And the only point that I could stand in integrity, because there's a lot of people out there teaching people how to make money that, like, I know have gone through what I went through, but they were like, still like, yeah, we're all making money. I'm like, I can't, I have to stand in integrity. And I could stand for transformation because Lord knew I had been doing that work for years, but I was living it like I never lived it before. And I knew authorship. So I stood in authenticity. I stood in integrity. I stood in complete alignment, despite the fact the world around me, materially, financially, was completely falling apart. I stood at the one point that I knew I could stand and feel really good about it. And within 60 days, we ended up having nearly 10,000 people sign up for that training. And I made enough money selling like passes to my summit to move my family into a home. So we never, ended up homeless or had to sleep on someone's couch. We literally moved into a nicer house down the street, down the street, literally in the same neighborhood from the one that we were living in that we lost to foreclosure. So, it's like, it was such confirmation that what I felt, what I knew, even though despite all the people said that it would never work, like who would ever buy that? Well, a lot of people bought that and got me back on my feet, my family back on our feet. And, here we are 10 years later.
Oh, that is just so inspiring. So many questions were coming to mind as you were talking. What I really hear is I hear that you, I guess it's that integrity piece. You being able to, you lived the story and then are able to, of course, tell about it, but you also blossomed through it and help other people share so many things are showing up for me right now in my head, Christine. I'm like, where do we go from here? I think, okay, Christine, what I want to get to next is I want to get to an empowering quote that you shared with me when I asked Christine for an empowering quote, one that she would like to share with our audience today. She shared, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And that is by Maya Angelou. And you hear through your situation, you of course experienced that story, but you share it today with others. And what I see is you empowering other people to now share their untold stories that may have once only looked like agony, and yet can be a moment of thriving and hope and inspiration.
Yeah, because I see people when they come to me, the story is trapped inside. And when the story is trapped inside, the essence of who that person is in the world, who they're meant to be, who they were born to be, put on this earth to be, that person is also trapped inside with that trapped story. Ooh. So as we bring someone into an environment here, and my entire company, my entire team, it's really all about creating this sort of like a sacred container of being seen, being understood, being heard, being felt, feeling important, feeling like their message matters, like they can do it because they're seeing other people in the community do it. It's like there's nothing quite so satisfying as seeing someone come in like, well, I don't know, can I really? And then literally watching them blossom in front of our eyes and claim pieces of themselves that they didn't even know they lost. Like, right. It's amazing. So, by the time people go through our process, it's like, yes, of course you're going to write a book. And, we have a publishing company, which is called Kapusha Publishing. The Kapusha is one of the biggest, brightest, boldest flowers of the dahlia family. And I have a dahlia garden right outside my yard here in my front yard, because we help people bloom. And it is amazing because they're so excited to become a published author when they come into our world. And by the time the book is in their hands, they're just as excited, but the book is like the byproduct, yes, of who they became through the process. So they're not doing what I did. And this is why I'm so passionate about this, because I wrote the wrong book. I published that book and I couldn't stand in integrity with it for who I was.
Will you explain that to people? I get what you mean by that, but will you explain what you mean by I wrote the wrong book first?
Yeah, it's like it was the book that I was meant to read, not a book that I was meant to write. I was not yet I knew the information. It came in, it was pretty much a downloaded book. I mean, like I said, phenomenal book, but I was not, and I had a coach at the time, but did not coach me into really doing the work to become the living, breathing, walking, talking, authentic embodiment of the message of my book. So it's the wrong book. If it doesn't feel like a fifth appendage to your body, right, a true representation of who you are, that you can look at it and be like, yeah, that's me. This is who I am and this is what I stand for. It's the wrong book. So when our clients' books comes out, books get published. I think there's a stack behind me here. Those 9, I think, over there just got published. I think in the last 10 weeks, we've been busy over on the publishing side of things. Thank you. Yeah. Very exciting. Incredible, incredible books. But every single one of those authors that we've published across the board, it's like, yeah, there's the book, but I am that. They've grown into their skin in a way that I don't think anything would have helped them do, because you can do a lot of work in a seminar room or in a therapist's office or in a closet or on Zoom with your coach, but when you're doing the work for the purpose of putting it out there, still, no matter all the mediums we have for sharing information, a book is still the gold standard of authority and expertise and presence in the market. When you do the work, but you have a deliverable, tangible product to say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I have to offer. There's nothing sweeter. It's you can tell, I'm sorry, talking a lot, but yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's very awesome. No, and everything you're sharing is excellent. So you're really speaking to that personal transformation journey that a person goes on when they choose to say, yes, I'm going to write this book. And what I'm hearing is you help them be in alignment with that message and that book. And I can see a lot of people saying, yes, I want to write a book. I've got this idea. I've got lots of notes or things that they've, maybe put out there because they're going to do it. And yet I can see that because they maybe haven't gone through that last little hurdle of whatever the transformation for them is going to look like, that could be a stopping point for them and saying, oh, I'm not ready yet, or I'm too scared or whatever. But it sounds like you help them work through that so they can, tell me, say more.
That's the first question that I ask people to answer in the process. And the question, there's a tool that I developed called the Transformation Quadrant. And the first question in that quadrant is, what transformation do you want for yourself?
Nice.
Through the process of writing this book, who do you want to become? What do you want to embody? What do you want to let go of? Everything and that's the first question that all of my clients have to answer before they can go, on to the other, lots of questions that I asked them to help them get the clarity and the foundation. So the writing is easy when you have the foundation in place. But as far as I know, there's no one else on the planet asking someone writing a book well, what transformation do you want for yourself through the process? That's number one. And that is the North Star for everything.
I've co-authored 3 books now, and each and every one has had its own pre-journey, inner journey for me that I had to go on before the book ever came out. And so I completely get everything that you're saying. And it's so good. The other element that was coming through earlier that I didn't quite touch on is timing. You gave a fantastic story of timing, how, what you're doing today, you didn't embark on that earlier because actually that would have thrown things off. And this was meant for you to do. And as you were talking about how you help people with writing their books, what I'm hearing is you're that I don't want to say missing link because we have you're here, but you're the link that bridges the gap and brings the timing for people into the present moment. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if this is making sense. I tend to get a lot of visuals in my head. Is if anybody's in that fear space of, the time's not now. I'm not ready now to do my book. And yet they know that have that desire and passion and all the inspiration for it already. You help bring the timing into the present moment and have it all be aligned. That's what I'm hearing. So
a lot of my clients actually sort of see me as a catalyst.
There you go.
The pieces and parts were kind of there. Mm-hmm. And then when they come into my world, it's something happens and these things come together and it just catalyzes the clarity and catalyzes the confidence and catalyzes the courage so that they can go do this thing they're here to do. And for some of them, it's huge. I mean, huge. I have had clients in their 70s and their 80s, literally, who had lived all these years with these stories trapped inside because it never felt safe to, put them out in the world. And there's things that people felt safe telling me that their spouses didn't know, that their best friends didn't know about them. And when you can create that kind of space where someone can, transform in front of your very eyes by letting go of these things I've been holding on to for decades. It's like anything is possible,
Yes.
anything is possible. So it's phenomenal work. It's a great honor and a joy to be able to do what I do. Not only me, but my entire team. There's 30 something of us here from multiple countries around the world supporting our community. Because it does take a village, not only to birth the baby, but to, to raise a baby, but to raise a book.
Yes.
So but it's fantastic.
Well, as many of you know, the theme of the Every Day is a New Day show this year is Let Your Light Shine. And so, as with all of my guests, I asked Christine, what does letting your light shine mean to her? And she said, it is the purpose of my work, my way of life. I believe that every person has the light of God, love, life inside of them. And our purpose here as humans is to let that light shine. And that, of course, certainly speaks to the work that you're doing by helping people at any age to be able to share their story and make sure that it's not untold.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
We've published clients in their 20s and clients in their 80s. We just had one of our 80-year-old clients. We published her second book not too long ago. So yeah, it's, but everyone's on that amazing journey.
Absolutely. And I want to quickly put up on the screen here for anybody who hasn't yet heard about the Let Your Light Shine movement or joined, I want to remind you that you have an open invitation. It's completely free and easy. And it's simply about reminding you about how amazing you and your authentic self is, all of you, not just parts of you. And that when you allow yourself to be who you are, you shine even brighter. When one person shines, our world shines that much brighter. So the link is up on the screen for anybody who has not yet joined. I would love to see you there. And Christine, I do want to make sure that people know we're not quite done with our show yet, but you have bookbreakthroughquest.com, a website that shares a lot more information about something you have coming up right now. Will you share with everyone what that is?
Absolutely. Like, the timing of this is so perfect because once a year, I hold a free 5-day training to help authors gain the clarity, the confidence, and the courage that they need inside of a phenomenal community of thousands of transformational authors to help you get your book done this year so you can impact those lives with your words. And when you go to bookbreakthroughquest.com, you'll see all the information there. It's a quick registration. It's absolutely free. The first day of the training is on May 17th. And we've probably had 10,000 people go through the training in the last few years. With phenomenal results and like breakthroughs from the very first day, even before they get to the first day, because we provide them with an assessment to get a sense of where you're at with your book and where, what the missing links are. So just go to bookbreakthroughquest.com to join. Again, like, this is pretty much the only time of year that I offer a training like this, available for absolutely free. So bookbreakthroughquest.com, and you can come spend a whole week with me in an amazing community working on your book.
That's pretty awesome. And that's May 17th and that week of May.
Yep, the week May 17th, every day at noon Eastern. Okay. And if you can't show up live to get the immediate training, right when it posts, you can watch it, after it initially goes. But yeah, it's really, it's an amazing event and phenomenal training, and has a track record of really helping people make progress on their transformational books. So I hope you'll join us.
Well, that is awesome. Definitely check that out, bookbreakthroughquest.com, and you can access Christine's free training. Love, love, love it. So Christine, one of the things I love to do, we are nearing the end of our show here, and one of the things I love to do and my audience enjoys is I like to pull a card from one of my many card decks just for added inspiration and, whatever wants to come through. So prior to Christine and I coming live today, Christine helped me choose, and we are going to pull from Cheryl Richardson's Self-Care Cards deck. And so, Christine, the way I like to do this, let me go ahead and move my mic. The way I like to do this, I'm just going to do some light shuffling. And then in a moment, when you're ready, I'd love for you to say stop. And whatever the card is that's on top is what we will share. So don't say it. Yeah, don't say it just yet. Let me just do a little more shuffling here. Okay, those are on the ground. So the ones that are on the ground get shared inside the Every Day is a New Day Facebook group after the show. But Christine, when you're ready, go ahead and say stop.
Stop.
Okay, so the one we have here is gratitude. And the back of it says, say thank you. Experience the joy of acknowledging others.
Well, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Christine.
And thank everyone for being here, right?
Yes,
so perfect.
Let's pull one more, Christine. Let's see whenever you're ready.
Stop.
Okay. So we have two here. Playfulness. And the back of it says, play with a child. Children are your greatest teachers. We also have here awareness. And the back says, practice present moment awareness. The meaning you yearn for lives in the ever-present now. So I love that. We've got gratitude, playfulness, and awareness. And I do see a theme with some of the insights that showed up for me as you were sharing your story and everything. So for anybody who's in that space of wanting to finally write their book, and I know there are many of you out there, what's the question? What's the question that wants to come through right there? I feel like when is the time going to be? When are you going to be ready? I feel like there's a question there. Here's the thing. Christine's going to help you get ready. And you can do that by joining her free book breakthrough quest. So Christine, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience today before we close out?
I do. And it's just that if the idea of a book has been placed on your heart and soul, like there's this book inside of you, it's there because there's already people out in the world who need to receive it. You would not have been given it to do if there weren't already receivers out there waiting for it. So don't take it lightly that you've got this idea for a book inside. Like you're meant to pay attention to that and to pursue that and let the process take you where you need to go with the book.
Awesome. That was a fantastic way to end. And Betty is saying, thank you for sharing your wisdom. And she said, excellent. Oh, clicked on the wrong one. Excellent approach in ending a block to writing, I believe. And awesome. And Helene is saying, I love those cards. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, Christine. And so with that ends our show for today. Remember that every Monday in the 9 o'clock hour Pacific time, we have Inspirational Message Mondays, where I do pull more cards and share inspirational excerpts from many of the books that I have, and would love to see you there. And then of course on Thursdays, we have another awesome guest interview. Christine, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate it and appreciate all the inspiration that you shared.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll see you all again next time. Bye for now, everybody. Stay right there,
Bye.
Christine.